It's time for your daily LSU baseball update with Musso at the box. Now, Matt Musso.
Off and running. Welcome in another edition of Musso at the Box. Fired up to have you along for the ride. LSU, they punched their ticket on Monday morning, very early Monday morning against West Virginia, defeating the Mountaineers 12-5 to sweep the Baton Rouge Super Regional 2-0. They are off to Omaha for the 20th time in program history in search of national championship number 8. We have all week to talk about LSU and Arkansas and the College World Series as a whole, and we will do that. But what I want to do today is take one final look back at the Super Regional. I've been able to pour over it a little bit. What did we get wrong? What did we get right? What did we like overall for the weekend? And what does it mean going forward for LSU? How much can you take from LSU's dominant 2-game sweep of the Big 12 champs as they head to Omaha in search of their 8th national championship? So that's what we're going to do here on today's show. Please smash the like button if you have not already. Please get subscribed to the YouTube channel and on your favorite podcast app. Just search Musso at the Box. Follow me on social media, Twitter X at Musso Matthew. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram as well. And please share. That is greatly, greatly appreciated. And let's go ahead and get started. So LSU 2-game sweep of West Virginia. We know that in the Baton Rouge Super Regional, winning game number 1, 16-9. Game number 2, 12-5. Both of them were really indicative of the final score. You know, sometimes you'll see a game and it's like, maybe not so much. These were every bit the 16-9 and the 12-5 that it showed. LSU was dominant in every phase of the game. I want to start with the pitching. We'll get into the offense because there's some really encouraging signs there. But I want to start pitching. And just some overall thoughts. Number one, you got through these 2 games without using Casey Evans, Zach Cowan, Jaden Newt, Jacob Myers, and what you got out of Chase Shores, he didn't really throw all that many pitches. You used Shores for 4 outs, and he got them in order. He was perfect. But no Evans, no Cowan, no Newt, no Myers. I think that is massive. I think you look at this, and it's very similar to the SEC tournament, where you were able to rest Cowan and Evans. Those guys have given you so much this season. Case and Evans is up over 47 innings now. Zach Cowan is right on the doorstep of 47 innings. Both those guys out of your bullpen. And, man, you've asked them to do a lot. You've leaned on them. So any rest you can get is huge, especially for a guy like Evans, who is a freshman, and this is the longest baseball season that he's had. Sure, there's been prospect showcases and all that for him, you know, in his development, you know, before getting to college. But in terms of a season, this is the longest, you know, time for him. So any rest you can get him, I think, is massive. And again, like we said, kind of similar to the SEC tournament. And when you saw Casey Evans the first time out of that SEC tournament, he was extremely sharp. Like, extremely. That was his 6-inning, 12 strikeout performance in the regional against Little Rock. So if you can have that kind of rested Casey Evans going into Omaha, I think that's absolutely massive, especially given your draw. Same can be said with Jaden Newt, with Jacob Myers. Those guys both struggled in their most recent outings, so getting them some extended rest, refocus, I think that's massive. So that was huge. In terms of on the field, one thing we talked about was LSU, specifically Anderson and Ianson, being your biggest advantage, but LSU is going to need to limit free passes because while West Virginia's offense is very good, they depend on help. They are opportunistic. LSU did not give them much help from the mound. You did commit 3 errors, which was interesting. Just, you know, kind of given what LSU's done this season in the field. I mean, they're still fielding over 980. They've been phenomenal. But in terms of free passes, you walked just 8 in 2 games, which is stellar. And you only hit 1 batter. This was a team that was, I think they had gotten hit by 85 or so pitches coming into this weekend. You hit 1. And it proved true that they struggled stringing things together. You know, you look at game number 2. All 5 of their runs scored via the long ball. That was out of the ordinary for West Virginia, but it was a single and a homer, and then that was the end of that. A solo homer later. It wasn't this long, sustained inning. They picked away at you, but did it, with the long ball. Oddly enough, the one inning that they were able to string something together was against Cade Anderson when they started that inning with 3 straight hits. But even later in that frame, you had an error, you had walks. So it started out perfectly strung together, but outside of that, what we thought rang true. That team needed help, and LSU did not give them much, and they just aren't talented enough against top arms like LSU can present to string together long, sustained rallies, and ultimately that was huge for LSU. I want to get into some individuals now after just kind of those big picture takeaways, but we'll start with Anderson and Ianson. Leading into the series and really down the back half, we've just kept track of that run that Anderson and Ianson were on. And admittedly, you're going to look at their line from this series and see 12 innings, 10 earned runs, 5 walks, 14 Ks, and you're going to say that's not very good. And statistically, it's not very good. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Anderson and Ianson had their best stuff against West Virginia, because I don't think that they did. But you won both of those games. And I feel even more confident in Anderson and Ianson going into Omaha, to be quite honest. I know plenty could look at that and go, man, your aces gave up 10 earned runs. Is there cause for concern? For me, none. And here's why. I'm much more moved by the previous 11 starts combined for those two. They were pitching to a sub-2 ERA against Tennessee and Arkansas and Texas A&Ms of the world. I'm much more moved by them striking out 110 in those 74 innings pitched and a 9-2 LSU record. That's a larger sample than one weekend against West Virginia. Also, what I would tell you is look at both of their outings. There was plenty of good and dominance in both of their outings that weekend before things got a little haywire. Cade Anderson threw 5 innings of ball where he gave up 1 earned run. Then he had to sit for 40 minutes or so while LSU just put up a 7 spot. It's 100 degrees on the field. He has to go back out there, and West Virginia got him a little bit. Credit them. They didn't go away. I mean, at that point, they were down 10-1. Then he has to sit again while LSU puts up a 6 spot and goes back out there, but he battles hard through that inning. He got you 7. But before they went off the rails from in 2 innings, he looked as much like Cade Anderson of the previous, month or the entirety of the season that he has all year. 5 innings, 1 earned run. I mean, dominant stuff. 1 walk in that time or something like that. Now I'll give you another. So, for me, it'd be a lot more different if what you saw from Anderson was similar to what you saw from Jack Hartsonis, where it was just all early in the game. He just got off to a bad start and it never got any better. No, he got off to a great start and had long waits, and it was hot and the conditions sucked, and they got to him a little bit. It's a team that was in a super regional. They're pretty good. With Ianson, same deal. Ianson threw 3 shutout to start that outing. They started to fall behind hitters in the 4th and the 5th. But you don't want to know what's the most encouraging thing for me from Ianson's outing is that 5th inning where West Virginia, y'all, in the 5th inning, if you go back and you remember that, you have a walk to the leadoff guy, Guzman. Then Ianson commits an error to advance him. Then you have a fielder's choice. You're in trouble at that point. You've got runners at first and third with 1 out. And at that point, it's a 6-3 ball game. And you had first and third with nobody out, because that was the fielder's choice where Milam took the play at third and Guzman got it under the tax. You have first and third, nobody out in that spot, and 3, 4, 5 coming up. And Ianson gets a strikeout to get a much-needed out against Kyle West, their best hitter, or one of their most productive, we should say. One of the guys we circled can't beat you, and he didn't throughout the weekend. That was big. Then you give up the single to Sam White, who did crush you all weekend. But you go fielder's choice and a line out to short, and you get out of it. He kept it small. When it looks like it's snowballing on him, he kept it small. So, again, I look at both their outings. I say, yeah, they had a couple bad innings in there, but for the most part, they were as dominant as they had been, save for those few innings. You can't take those innings away. They're there. So why else would I have confidence? Well, in Cade Anderson's case in particular, we've seen him struggle a little bit this year. He struggled against Mississippi State. He struggled against Alabama early in those games. Now, both those times he was on short rest. But what was encouraging was the week after. The week after he struggled early in that game against Mississippi State, he threw the complete game shutout against Oklahoma. The week after he had some struggles against Alabama, he pitched into the 8th inning against Tennessee. So, for me, no concern whatsoever for Anderson and Ianson as they go forth in Omaha. They are still LSU's greatest advantage, and I expect Cade Anderson to go out there on Saturday night and absolutely have a phenomenal outing against a very good Arkansas team because it's what he's done all year. Their line in that super regional can be very, very deceiving, and I think it is very, very deceiving. A couple others. Cooper Williams. Cooper Williams was awesome yet again. He's been fantastic in the postseason, but he's been even more fantastic leading into the postseason. I have talked ad nauseum about that on this show. I have done my best to sing Cooper Williams' praises down the stretch here. And you got 2 1/3 out of him, an earned run. He got you out of the 6th after Ianson allowed a leadoff base runner on a free pitch, on a hit batter. He got you out of that, hung a 0 in the 7th. Again, it's a close game at that point. And then you blow it open. And he damn near got you through the 8th inning as well. Cooper Williams. And look, I'm gonna tell you. Everyone's taking notice of it now. You're taking notice of it now because it's in the postseason, and that's what everybody remembers. But this is not new for Cooper Williams on the back half of this season. It just is not. Starting on April 26th, he came in relief against Tennessee. So starting there, April 26th, Cooper Williams has thrown 8 2/3 and has given up 2 earned runs. So since April 26th, Cooper Williams' ERA is 2.19. And you might say, okay, what changed? Strikes. That's what changed. Heading into that weekend against Tennessee, Cooper Williams had walked 8 guys in give or take 11 innings. In his last 8 2/3, he's walked 3 and struck out 10. The curveball looks great. I mean, all 3 pitches that he's got are working. Is it sustainable? I say absolutely. Because you've seen it in big moments. Pressure-packed moments. Coming in at Texas A&M in a tight game, needing to get Jace Laviolette out as left on left does the job. Against Little Rock. You're still in the ball game at that point when Cooper Williams is in. It's 6-4. He goes 3 2/3 shutout when you're trying to punch your ticket to the Super. Ultimately, it'd get away from you later in the ball game, but he held the line there. He held the rope for you right there in that spot. And then again, Sunday night in the Super, like big spots, facing Arkansas, Tennessee, and not giving up earned runs. Yeah, it's sustainable for him. going to Omaha. And that's a huge piece to your bullpen because now you can add him to Evans, Cowan, Newt, Shores. That's where I want to go next. Chase Shores. Could not have asked for a better bounce back from Chase Shores than you got Sunday night. He was perfect. Inning and a third, perfect. Punched out 3, didn't allow a hit, didn't walk anybody. He had all 3 pitches working. The fastball didn't dip below 100 on the night. The slider was crisp and even dropped the changeup in. You saw Chase Shores go from 100 to 86 at one point on Sunday night. That's the bounce back you were looking for. What did we talk about all week heading into the Super Regional? Okay, people might be nervous right here about Shores coming off that outing, but the question you had to ask yourself is, did you trust that to be a one-off? And what you had seen in the previous 7 or so outings from him leading in, was that actually who he is now? And that bounce back leads you to believe that, yes, he actually is more toward what you've seen from him down the stretch than that one outing against Little Rock. And that's incredibly encouraging. You need Chase Shores. He's versatile. He can give you extended relief. He can spot start for you, or he can slam the door at the end of the game like you saw against West Virginia. It's a huge, huge piece going forward into Omaha. And last but not least, I want to give a hat tip to Maverick Rizzi. Maverick Rizzi has had an underrated postseason so far. He has not given up an earned run through regionals and super regionals. He has walked only 1 and struck out 3 and 2 2/3. He was really good in a couple outings for you in the regional, and he was really good for you again to close out game number 1 of this super regional when you really needed to finally get off the field. And he did that. And Rizzi leads this team in appearances. Does that surprise you? Like me telling you that Maverick Rizzi is the guy that leads this team in appearances out of the bullpen. Your depth was on display, and he's had a really nice postseason quietly because of when he's been put in the games and whatnot. But that matters. Like that role that he's serving right now for you absolutely matters. If you get down in Omaha and you don't want to go to Evans or Cowan until you're back in the game, you can potentially go to a guy like Maverick Rizzi, and pitching the way he's pitching right now, he can keep you in that ball game. That is encouraging. Look, I said it on Selection Monday when we were talking about this. The thing I loved about LSU in this postseason was how they were pitching the baseball going into it, and that has not changed for me. If anything, with the emergence of Williams, like he's been so dominant here in the postseason, I'm only more encouraged. So I think you're in a great spot on the mound heading into Omaha. You are rested, and you're going to have a very hungry Cade Anderson go out there on the mound Saturday night against an Arkansas team. A very good Arkansas team. Those are my thoughts pitching. Let's talk about the offense in the Super and as a whole in this postseason because they've been awesome. You know, everyone asked, well, LSU, they're going to step out of conference. Will the offense return to form? And my thing that I always said was, it doesn't matter if they're stepping out of conference. They're going back home where they've been awesome in on offense all year long. They averaged 9 runs per game at home heading into this postseason. In the Super Regional, LSU on offense was awesome. 28 runs on 18 hits. Yes, they got a lot of help from West Virginia. They did. West Virginia walked 17. Doesn't count who they hit, and they kicked the ball around like we expected them to. In all, I think LSU got 30 free bases if you count errors, hit by pitch, walks, all that together. You made them pay. There's a few things that I love from this LSU offense that I think is very encouraging. You took advantage of those opportunities. And in doing so, you had incredibly timely hitting. You were awesome with runners on base. Like at one point in game number 1, your 7 runs that you had scored had come on 2 swings, a 3-run homer and a grand slam. That plays. Like 100%, that plays. LSU, in their timely hitting, in their great at bats, they looked refined. LSU was phenomenal at staying inside the baseball this past weekend against West Virginia. Think back to the big hits. Almost all of them went the other way. Curiel's home run, his 3-run shot, opposite field. Monster Milam's grand slam, opposite field. Chris Stanfield, huge hit that Stanfield had that made it 8-4 on Sunday night, opposite field beats the shift. Jared Jones stayed back on a curveball and drove it to the opposite field on Sunday. Derek Curiel has doubled to lead off the game. Opposite field, banged off the left field wall. There's plenty more, y'all. Like, there are plenty more. The 2-out scoring was great, but using the entire field and staying inside the baseball was some of the most encouraging thing to me, because that really shows you that LSU's locked in. We talked plenty about that early in the year when the offense was humming, how much they were using the entire field and staying backside. That's encouraging for me, watching this offense. Now, they're going to have to go prove it that they can do it away from home, which that's been a struggle this year. Like, they call it what it is. That's a spade, right there. But that's something that I saw this weekend that I'm very encouraged by. And it resulted in only 10 strikeouts. LSU struck out 10 times in 2 games and drew 17 walks. That's being locked in at the plate. When you look at them as a whole in this postseason at home, 61 runs on 61 hits. Cannot get any better than that. You just cannot get any better than that. You hit 8 balls out of the park, 2 grand slams. You're great. Now you have to carry that on the road. And I just told you the reasons I think that they can. But they have to go prove it. Some individuals. That's going to start with Stephen Milam. Postseason Milam is a thing. I love it. I told y'all in the immediate reaction that we'd go back and get the full numbers. Stephen Milam, in his NCAA tournament career now. So that's 10 games, right? How many did they play? No, 11 games. It's 11 games. He is hitting .357. He has driven in 18, has hit 3 homers. This is the big one. He has walked 17 times and struck out just 4. Stephen Milam this year in 2025 is hitting .421 in the tournament and has not struck out at all. And he's drawn 10 walks. That shows you just how locked in he is at the plate. He's had 19 at-bats in the postseason so far. He has not struck out and is hitting .421 and is nearing .360 in the postseason for his career. Awesome. And again, it's the moments, the grand slam, the walk-off homer against Wofford. You know, the double, the 2 RBI double, or the RBI double, I should say, on Sunday night. He has just been in fuego, and he is locked in, and it is awesome to see. And for me, he is the biggest X factor for LSU in the College World Series right now, because he just infuses the rest of the team with energy, with life. When Milam's hitting, it's contagious for everyone else in the lineup. You can just see that. And that's a great thing to have, because he can hit in so many different spots and play so many different roles for this team offensively. And the role he plays in the postseason is X factor and catalyst. He's been incredible. Absolutely incredible. Jared Jones. Jared Jones hit 500 in the Super Regional. That's pretty darn good. But I'll tell you the thing that stood out most to me. Jared Jones struck out one time in 2 games against West Virginia. You compare that to 7 strikeouts in the regional. And he used the backside of the field, and he hit the ball hard. He hit it low and on a line. That's like they always say over there, hard, not far. Jared Jones should just be the poster child for hard, not far. Because if he's hitting it hard, the far is just going to come to him. Like, he's a giant human who has a lot of power. And if he's just focusing on hitting it hard, not far, he's going to end up hitting the home runs. That's just going to come because of the style of player that he is. But I loved watching the backside knock for him on Sunday night, especially off of a breaking ball. And I love the one strikeout in the Super Regionals. 1. Again, compared to 7 in regionals. So that was huge. And then Derek Curiel was just awesome again. I mean, Derek Curiel hit 571 against West Virginia, had the 3-run shot. He drove in 5. He scored 6 times, did it out of the 7 hole, out of the leadoff spot. He's just been awesome, and he's going to continue to be awesome. But, I mean, overall, man, I liked what I saw from LSU's offense. Free passes, be damned. They took advantage of that. Yeah, I'll go back to that game against Little Rock, the one you lost 10-4. You had plenty of opportunities. You loaded the bases twice in the 3rd and the 4th, and a lot of that was gifted to you, and you didn't come through. You didn't get the big hit. West Virginia gave you gifts. You didn't, you took them and said thank you, and that's what you do. That's what good teams do. That's what dominant teams do. That's what championship teams do. You did that. Can you build on it and go to Omaha now? Can it carry over into Omaha? Away from the box? That's going to be the question. 2 more things. Just big overall takeaway. LSU finished the job when they needed to finish the job. They were not going to be caught napping again after what happened against Little Rock. And they weren't. And that was big. That was impressive. You had an opportunity to go out there and finish the job, and they did. Jumped out to a 6-0 lead, and you had your horses ready to go in the bullpen, and you used who you needed to use to get it done. You close it out with Chase Shores in a 12-5 ball game. That's a statement. That's a statement that we are leaving nothing to chance, and we're going to end it now. And I thought that was massive. And the other thing is something we didn't talk enough about heading into this weekend that we should have talked about more was the coaching matchup, because that was so vastly in favor of LSU with Jay Johnson going up against a first-year head coach in Steve Sabins, and boy, didn't you see that. Some of the decisions that Steve Sabins made, particularly with his pitching staff, were grotesque. You're down 3-1, and you pull your ace, and you go to a pitcher in game number 1 who had 4 innings on the year. I understand Cade Anderson on the other side. I do. I get it. But, folks, that is a choice. It's a 2-run game. 4 innings? You went to the guy with 4 innings? That's rough. In game 2. In game number 2. Cartsonis is all over the place. The heat's getting to him. You find out later on the broadcast he's been sick all week. You allow him, after he's already given up a run, to walk the bases loaded, and with your season on the line, there is no tomorrow, pitch with the bases loaded after he issued the free passes. That resulted in a 5-run inning. And not only that, you let him finish that inning before you went to anybody else. That's horrible. Jay Johnson coached circles around Steve Sabins this weekend. And that absolutely mattered in the outcome of that series. and it's something we should have talked about more looking into the regional and assuming the super regional than we did. But that was a takeaway that I definitely had as well. So LSU's off to Omaha. They'll face Arkansas. Throughout the week, we'll look at the College World Series field. It's a very intriguing one. We will obviously break down LSU Arkansas from any angle possible. It'll be the fourth meeting between the teams so far this year. LSU is 2-1. Who holds the advantage in every little aspect? Pitching, offense. What does LSU need to do? What can you take from the previous matchups? There's a lot of different angles. And we'll talk some transfer portal as well this week, leading into the College World Series also. So keep it locked, subscribe, share, like, follow on social media, and be here next time for more on Musso at the Box.